This movie is all about showing state in objects. I'll say a little about what we mean by state first, look at how it's represented by attributes, and then look at how links between objects can affect state. The UML specification says that a state models a situation in the execution of a state machine behavior during which some invariant condition holds. We'll be looking at state machines and how we can use them to model changes in state in another chapter. For now, the important thing to note is that it says that some invariant condition holds while an object is in a particular state. This invariant condition is usually represented by the values of attributes and links of objects in the system. However, the values in objects change over time as operations access the attributes and write new values into them. Some of those changes are significant and can be considered as changes in the state of the object. Others are not significant in terms of state. The example here shows an activity diagram on the left, which changes the values of the attributes enabled and state in the open-closed device called windowblind1. The object diagram on the right shows the resulting values in the object over time and the changes to the overall state of the object, shown in square brackets as part of the name. So we can use an object diagram to show how state changes over time. Usually it's changes to the attribute values that result in changes to the overall state of the object. Here, two attributes called enabled and state are significant in determining the overall state of the object. The overall state of the object in this diagram is open. If enabled was true rather than false, it would be opening, as in the previous diagram. Links between objects also affect the state of objects in a system. The fact that something is linked to another object may be significant. For example, a customer order that doesn't have any links to any order lines isn't going to be possible to dispatch and may have to stay in a pending state until one or more order lines have been added to it. What's connected via the links may also be significant. In the example here, a schedule has a set of timed events with switch on and switch off actions in them, but the schedule's been linked to an open-closed device which expects open and close actions. As a result, whatever the other attribute values of the schedule that might affect its state, such as enabled, start date, or end date, it's in an invalid state, and that's shown in the diagram underneath the name of the object. Now let's have a look at how to add values into slots and display state in object diagrams. Here's the model with our object diagram. First of all, I'm going to change the class of the object called currentDevice to be one of the subclasses of the class device. I'll make it an open-closed device. I right-click on it, select Advanced and Instance Classifier. Then from the list, I select Open-Closed Device instead of Device, which is selected at the moment. Now we'll add some attribute values into it. To do this, I'm going to right-click on the object again and select Features and Properties and then Set Run State. A dialog box appears to allow me to set the run state. If I click on the drop-down for Variable, it displays the possible attributes that I can set values for. Note that some of these are attributes of device that are inherited by open-closed device, and enabled is an attribute that's specific to open-closed device. I'll set enabled equals false and state equals open. If I click on Apply, it will add this into the object. Those are the attributes that are important from the point of view of state. I can also set other attributes. For example, I can set the name equal to window blind master bedroom. That information clearly helps to identify the object and might be of real value in the system. However, it doesn't affect the state. Now I'm going to set the overall state of the current device object. To do this, I right-click and select Advanced Set Object State. Again, it's worth pointing out that this is how you do it in Enterprise Architect. The tool that you're using may have a different way of doing it, but there should be a feature there that allows you to set these values. I'm going to set the overall object state to open, and I'm going to check the checkbox that says Merge State with Instance Name. You can see that it's put the state in square brackets into the name between the name of the object and a colon before the name of the class. If I go back in and change that Merge State with Instance Name by unchecking the checkbox, you'll see that it displays the name of the state underneath the name of the object. And those are the two alternative ways of displaying it in UML. I also want to set some attribute values in timed events, If I go to that dialog box, timed event currently doesn't have the attributes I need set. I'll cancel out of that, and I'm going to add a couple of attributes to timed event. I could go to the class diagram, or I could add them directly from the project browser. If I find timed event here in the domain package in the project browser, right-click on it and select attributes, it takes me directly into the attributes properties dialog without having to go through a diagram. I'm going to add two attributes called action and time. Action is going to be of the type device action, and time is going to be of the type time of day. I want it to be just a time of day and not include any date information. Now, if I go to the run state of a timed event object, it will have those attribute values for me to set. You can see that they're in the drop-down list. I'm going to set the first one of these to switch off at 0700, 7 o'clock in the morning. So I'll set the action equal to switch off, and I'll set the time equal to 0700, 7 hours in the morning. I'll do the same for another timed event, but set it to switch on at 12. It's important to realize that each of these timed events here is an object instance of the class timed event. So each of them can have different values in the slots to representing the attributes here in the object model. If we look at timed event in the domain diagram, we can see that the attributes that were added in the project browser are reflected there. So action and time have been added into this diagram. So in this movie, we've added values to the attributes in the objects of our object diagram and learned how to set the overall object state of an object. Object diagrams are used when we need to analyze objects in the real-world domain that we're automating, or when we need to reason about the behavior of objects over time as they change state and interact with one another.